Now, first of all, we're going to move to our regular council meeting, but we're very, very happy to have with us. This is almost history. We have our Member of Parliament, Anthony Housefather, a member of the National Assembly, David Birnbaum. Welcome. And we also have the commander from Station 9. Welcome. So very happy to have you with us tonight. I guess Dr. Harry Rosen should be arriving in a minute, but I think somebody should, if he is downstairs, bring him up. Oh, I think Janine found him. Okay. So we will start off, perhaps we'll start off with a presentation of the checks by. We have some presentations from David Birnbaum, and we'd like you to come forward. I guess you could come forward and hold the mic if you want and speak to the audience or to us, whatever you wish.
Thank you very much.
You want to be on the camera because they videotape our meetings now. So why don't you just turn around and talk towards the camera and we'll all listen.
Thank you very much. First, I want to pay my respects to the mayor and
Thank
the
you.
councillors of the city of Côte Saint-Luc and the senior civil servants. Very pleased to be here. Member of Parliament, Anthony Housefather, Monsieur Commandant. One of the very pleasant tasks that each of us in politics has is to be able to support important local initiatives. And there are a couple of them that I'm very pleased to have supported over the years and to support again tonight. Whenever I get the notices about Côte Saint-Luc Dramatic Society productions, I'm always angry because so often the dates don't work. I've seen a couple, and I'll have to catch up, but I don't get to see them all. But it's really my pleasure to support this tremendous initiative, and I think your current mayor has had something to do with the history, past, present, and I'm sure future of that wonderful endeavor. I'm not sure which envelope is which, but I'm very pleased again to show our support. And when I'm talking about our support, through me as an MNA, I have the privilege of dispersing a small amount of discretionary funds, but this is as a member of the National Assembly, so this is the Quebec government showing its support for what has become an institution in Côte Saint-Luc and so worthy of our support. So I'm very pleased to make that presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. May. And
You did that already. Picture? Picture for, yes, 3 presentations here. Very well.
For Mike Cohen, this is such an amazing initiative, but everybody...
Diane, please. And Diane, our chair.
Diane, okay.
She does the heavy lifting.
All right, all right. Hi, Diane. Good to see you. But, well, both of you must be so tired of people feeling they have to make cat pun jokes when they talk about your wonderful initiative. So I promise, first of all, I was out in the sun playing golf at the Y fundraising tournament today, so I'm tired. I promise I will not come up with any cat jokes. But in all seriousness, one of the reasons I don't want to is because this is an initiative that not enough municipalities have yet copied, and one that I think is to the real honor of Côte Saint-Luc. You're talking about doing the right thing. First of all, for the safety and security of Côte Saint-Luc residents, for the humanity and compassion that any cat owners feel, and it's the right thing to do for our feline neighbors. And I know, first of all, how smartly and well the program works, and the creativity and initiative you show in raising funds for this through your annual concert.
October 9th.
There we go. Okay. Well, that's right. I figured it was the time it was fairly soon. October 9th. Well, let's hope the MNA for Darcy B, whoever he or she might be, will do his or her best to be there.
Minister responsible for animal welfare in the next government. That's what I think.
Okay. Well, okay.
English language.
I will go where they ask me to serve. Anyway, again, it's my real pleasure on behalf of our National Assembly to continue to support this really important initiative. And good luck again to both of you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for your support. We really appreciate it.
The mayor takes his role very seriously. Now, the third one, you'll notice I don't have notes with me, so please correct me if I don't get the specifics right. And this would be a second year of our support for Monsieur Brunet and the McDonald's initiative to provide access to the plethora of tremendous services that you and your council and your civil service make available to citizens, to those who need some help. And I was really touched to only learn of this initiative. I think, would it have been at your golf tournament last year? Yeah, he was honored there, that's right. And I understand this to be a wonderful gesture that I think builds on the kind of spirit all of you on council try to set for the community you serve, and that is that everything you do right in this community is open to and must continue to be accessible to all of the residents that you serve. And I know that this fund helps make that happen, so it's with great pleasure that I'm offering what I can to support that initiative of McDonald's and Monsieur Brunet's foundation as well.
Can we have Councillor Kovac for that picture? Parks and Recreation.
Because that is what this fund does. What this fund does, it allows people who can't afford to participate in our program with a bursary. So it's the Pierre Brunet Bursary Fund. And the money is used to ensure that kids can go to camp, to highly use it, singing in camp, singing in the park, and many of our other programs where kids can't afford to go, or even adults can't afford to go, we have this fund. Okay, so that's the next fun part of our agenda. This afternoon, we had the unveiling of the sculpture donated by Dr. Harry Rosen, titled Reliance. It was a wonderful ceremony, a very large turnout, but the most important thing is that it will be here forever for us all to enjoy in Ashkelon Gardens outside of the library. And a couple of weeks ago, I did a video with Dr. Rosen, and we're going to watch the video first. Daryl, is Daryl in the room?
He's right there.
Daryl's there? You ready to go?
So I'm here
we're gonna
today
watch
with
this video,
Dr.
turn
Harry
off the lights.
Rosen. Thank you so much for coming out.
Good day. Pleased to be here.
That's his sculpture that he's donating to the city of Côte Saint-Luc, and it's titled Reliance. And you know, in municipal government, that's exactly what we do. We rely on our volunteers and our workers and our elected officials and our residents to build a great community. And you're making it greater with this donation.
I always felt that we humans are social animals, and we always need each other and rely on each other. We don't live alone. So whether it's me relying on you or me relying on a community or communities relying on each other, we all need each other. So this is one of the examples of a sculpture that conveys that message, or I try to convey that message as much as possible. An artist tries to convey a message. He or she don't always know the message is being conveyed. So the public really become the critics of the artist. So the artist takes on a tremendous responsibility in providing the sculpture to a community where it's outdoors. Because in the outdoors, every person that goes by can become a critic, and which is quite acceptable. So one, I think my art should beautify, number one.
It certainly does.
When I came out here, why this place, not another place? I've been to many places, you know, of learning. I've been to many places, libraries as such, and libraries didn't always look as beautiful on the outside as this. So I said, well, Harry, you want to donate a sculpture to the library. That's one tremendous challenge, because this place is already beautiful. The library has been known to be effective. So I say, you're starting out with a gem. How can you improve on a gem? And that's a tremendous responsibility. And this is what we ended up with ultimately.
Well, it's a great location. It's right here in Ashkelon Gardens, where we have a lot of events, and people just come out here to sit and enjoy. And this is making it even more beautiful, so thank you. Thank you so much. So tell me, when did you start doing art?
Oh, I started doing art going way back. When I started doing dentistry, I started doing art at the same time. And art was how I kept myself busy on weekends. We had a country place up north, and I wanted our kids to grow up in a beautiful country place that we could afford at the time. I bought a small property, and I reconstructed the property with components that were already there. I pulled rocks out of the lake, and created all kinds of walls and terraces. I made compositions of trees and rocks, and in doing so, I enhanced the whole environment without bringing any components in from the outside. If you look at the sculpture, I found rocks similar to what you find in the sculpture. These were sedimentary rocks that I didn't know existed there originally, but I learned about them, and they were not indigenous to the area. The bedrock of that area is a very kind of hard granite, and these sedimentary rocks were a different kind of rock that was, when you quarried it, when you put a hole into a mountain and blow it apart, these rocks come off in layers. And I immediately saw the possibility of these flat layers being used in building. Anybody in any building, not even artists, buildings are all built with flat layers of bricks or stone or cement or whatever it may be. They're always flat layers. These flat layers came to me free, you know, by God created them for us. By hitting a rock with a sledgehammer, it broke up into layers. And then I could use these layers to build on and create sculptures such as this.
Fantastic. We see your art all over the city.
Hardly all over the city,
Well,
but
there's
a few
many,
places.
many places. The Jewish General Hospitals, schools,
Yeah.
all over the place.
Well, there were 17 in all now.
It's
yeah.
wonderful. So tell me, what gave you this idea of building this whole portfolio and spreading it around our beautiful city?
Well, I have to give credit to other people now. Sherry Goldstein was a patient of mine many years ago, and she saw pictures of my work on the wall. And she said, you know, do you mind if I show these pictures to some other people? And she began showing them around, and she got some positive responses from these people. And by getting these positive responses, we realized that we had something that could be of interest to communities outside of my community around my country place. And she began showing these pictures to other people, and she met with other people, told them all about my work, my background, my history in dentistry, etc., the relationship between dentistry and the work I was doing. Here on a minute scale, I did minute things in dentistry, which brought me some fame in dentistry. Now I'm trying to bring this same kind of skill on a larger scale to this work. And she began talking about it. And by the time she got through talking about it, people would give me an interview. She spoke to you guys here before I even knew you existed. And I got an interview with some of the people here. I even spoke to a community here. And I was able to make my point and get the invitation to place a sculpture here.
Fantastic.
Which to me was a challenge because, again, as I said, I like a little challenge. And I felt I'd reached a point with my work where I could afford the challenge of placing my work outside where it could be viewed by the public and let the public decide whether it's good or not. Every individual who goes by that sculpture becomes a critic.
Right.
That's fine, I accept that.
But if we look at the placement of this sculpture, it's really amazing. I mean, it's probably one of the best placements you've probably found for any of your sculptures.
Exactly.
This is ideal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You see, why did I come to Côte Saint-Luc? I love Côte Saint-Luc. I know a lot of people in Côte Saint-Luc, but when Sherry brought me up here, and I met Janine, and we walked through here, and I looked at it and I said, wow, this is quite a garden, quite a green space, quite a community where you tie the city hall, the library, and the green space behind it all in one. And I said, if I can get something in here, I think it would really be an achievement.
Yeah, well,
And that's what happened.
well, thank you so much for your donation of this work that will be with us forever, and we'll always cherish it. So
Thank
really,
you.
we appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate your interest in it. And I think we're all the beneficiaries of this happening. If you enjoy it, it's wonderful. And the fact that you enjoy it makes it more wonderful for me.
Thank you. So guys, when you're coming out to Ashkelon Gardens and you see the sculpture called Reliance, remember what the message is, that together we build a wonderful community. And it's thanks to Dr. Harry Rosen that we'll have this with us forever. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, and thank you, Daryl Levine, for that amazing video. He even got captured what we did this afternoon. Fast work. Wonderful. Anyway, so we want to thank you again, Dr. Rosen, for this wonderful donation, the sculpture that will be with us forever. As I've said and will continue to say, whenever I'm near it, whenever the opportunity arises, we as a municipality rely on people like you to make our city better. We rely on our volunteers, our elected officials, our community. I rely on my spouse, as you spoke so well about your reliance on your spouse, and together, by relying on each other, we make this a better place. So thank you so much, and now we have a plaque that I'd like you to come forward. I'd like to present to you, and we'll take a picture with all of the council. So this plaque reads, "In grateful appreciation to Dr. Harry Rosen for your generous donation to the Côte Saint-Luc Public Library. When communities build libraries, libraries build community." Thank you. Picture, come on, guys, and then we're going to call it the white picture. Thanks. And then I've got the M&A and the AMP here, so we should call you guys up too. Come in the picture. Just shows how exciting our council meetings are, that we get all levels of government to come. This is amazing.
Congratulations. Thank you. Okay.
As much as anybody could enjoy and experience. And I don't know who owes what to whom. It's a great pleasure for me. And if every artist enjoys this pleasure of having an audience that appreciates this of his work to the extent that you appreciate mine, then that's a great achievement. And I thank you for the opportunity.
Okay. So for those of you who have been here for the ceremonies, you don't have to feel obliged to stay for question period. Everybody's welcome. But for those who have other things to do, we know that life is full of wonderful things to do in the summer, and we don't want to hold you back. So now we're moving on to question period, and the first person to come is James Miller. Please come forward. Thank you.
Here.
Go ahead.
Perfect. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. I can pull it off and talk into it.
Go
Is
ahead.
that better for you? Good evening, Mr. Mayor. I had two questions, actually. I've been living on Freud for about 10 years now. And what I find now that it's the summer and my kids are older and we're outside a lot more often, we're finding people coming from Wallenberg as well as David Lewis. There's no stop sign at the corner. Sorry, not David Lewis, Louis Pasteur.
Okay.
There's no stop sign there, and what I'm finding when I'm playing with my kids is that the cars are simply speeding up and down the street, coming from both directions. We've tried to ask people to stop. We've tried to ask people to slow down. You give them a little, and they give you the opposite. So if it's possible to look into measures in order to reduce the speed on our street, it would be greatly appreciated.
So that's the corner of Louis Pasteur and Freud.
So we're right in the middle of Freud, and they're coming from both directions. So
From Louis Pasteur
from Louis Pasteur and from Wallenberg. And, they're
and
sort of-
Wallenberg. Okay.
It's just a straightaway, and they're flying down Freud.
Okay. We will refer this to our traffic committee. Councillor Torgman is the chairman of the traffic committee, so we'll take note of it. I know we're doing a lot of traffic calming measures throughout the city. We're trying all different types of things, whether it's signage, speed limits, bollards, speed bumps. So we're trying different things. So we'll take a note of that corner and
Be greatly appreciated.
see what we can do. But to stay in contact with us, the best thing to follow up is, all our emails are the same. Well, I mean, we have your address now, but you can email me anytime and I'll keep you in the loop. It's always the
Perfect.
first initial, second name at cotesaintluc.org.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
And the second question, just behind my house, there's the building that faces onto Cavendish. There's a big open field that it's underneath their parking garage. What happens a lot lately is there's sort of, it is private property, but there's an escape staircase. And a lot of the people from the building across from the rentals are going into there. And my kids keep asking what that interesting smell is. So it's not only coming from there, but people cross through there all the time, as well as they just sit in their cars along Freud on both sides of the street with the windows wide open, and whether it's the weekday or the weekend. I know that there are sort of legislations that are going to take place with regards to marijuana, but what can we do with it now? We've called public security, we've called the police, we've taken down license numbers. There are people using, there are people buying. So it's really just to see what else can we do with regards to, it's a family area, and how do we sort of,
Right. Well, you're lucky to hear Commander Lavallee is here today from Station 9, so he heard your concern. I'm sure he's taking note of it. I mean, our best resource with respect to anything that's illegal activity is the police.
Perfect.
In terms of anything else that we can do as a city, I'm not that sure, but I mean, we'll take note of it and send it off to our public security.
Great, thank you so
Director.
much. Have a wonderful
you.
evening.
Okay. Debbie Ladinia. Lower it now.
Okay. I had a little incident. I live on Blossom, and I was at the park at Blossom and Mackle about 3 weeks ago with my grandson in the swings, and not known to me that council or a bylaw had been changed about dogs in the park. So a woman came in with a dog on a leash, and I was in the swing with my grandson, and she had her dog right here, and the dog was on a leash and rolling around at my foot. And I looked at her with a nice voice and said, "Are you allowed to be in here?" And she said, "Yes, I am." Okay.
She's not.
So I left and I sent my councilman a email, and he answered me right away and said, explained to me that the bylaw was changed, or the law was changed, whatever, and she is allowed, but there are rules about what she's allowed, where she's not allowed to be here, she's not allowed to be there. she's
Not near a
be-
playground.
Wasn't
Within, I think,
allowed to
9
be.
meters or 20 meters?
Correct.
9 meters. 9
So
meters
I
from a playground.
understand all of that, so my question to the council is, I know I have no issue, I love dogs, and I have no issue with cats, but I know dog owners in Côte Saint-Luc have to spend $15 a year and get a permit or something for their dog. I want to know if the people who own dogs in Côte Saint-Luc know the rules.
Okay.
I
So
wanna know.
that's a very good question, and we do have our Director of Communications here, so Darrell Levine, who did a great job with that video. Thank you again. We should be more proactive in this issue in terms of informing people, so perhaps we could do something and have a bit of a campaign to educate people to realize what the new bylaw allows, which is you're allowed to bring your dog into parks on a leash, but not within 9 meters of a playground, not during an event.
Right.
So if there's an event going on in the park, you're not allowed to bring your dog there. People need to be educated.
So I was just thinking that if they do have a license or whatever it is, you must have some information on them, an address, an email, or something. They don't just go rah, we're allowed in the park now. So
I think, yeah, that's the first thing we could do is send letters to those that we
something,
know.
at least to the dog owners, not just,
Push it out and also put some signs up in parks particularly.
Thank
Signs
you.
in parks, though. Are we going to put signs in parks? Yeah.
Thank
Oh, my, Councillor Cohen is our councillor portfolio responsible for animal
Just, you know,
protection.
we have a list of things that we want dog owners to know about, and this year, for the first time, we gave it out as people signed up for their license. And we have a lot of the dog owners are very good at getting licenses for their dogs. We also have an actual dog owners committee, which Councillor Kajavsky sits on with me. We had a number of meetings. We actually have some of them at the dog run. We have a Facebook page, which is growing for dog owners. And what we're trying to do is form district captains so that there are people, for instance, someone living near your park who can sensitize dog owners, because there's so many dog owners that we don't know about. We can't get to all of them, and we are stopping dog owners on the street. We're advising them, do you have a bag to pick up? So this is brand new territory for us. We really only started this in late January, and sensitization is a big goal of ours. So we will continue to do that, and thanks for letting us know.
Thank you for coming. And I think one point that we should follow up on is making sure that we have signs in parks near the playgrounds, so people should know.
Yes, that was
Okay.
supposed to be part of the.
So we will do it. And now we will go on to Diane Delaney. Welcome.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor Bronstein and councillors. Yes, my name is Deanne Delaney, and I'm from Les Amis de Parc Meadowbrook. Can you speak up? Deanne Delaney, okay. Deanne Delaney from Les Amis de Parc Meadowbrook. Yes, we were here last month regarding the court judgment for the St. Pierre River on the Meadowbrook Golf Course, as you know, and the need for it to be decontaminated. And so tonight I'm just here for a follow-up. And with respect to, Côte Saint-Luc has certainly been a leader to save its area, the green recreational for golf. And now the St. Pierre River, or what's left of it, at least on the golf course, needs to be saved. As you know, the June 7th, there was the first judgment by the one that said that in 4 months they needed to apply for a permit to bury the river from the Ministry of the Environment, 18 months to bury or cap the river, and 24 months to decontaminate. July 25th, the court rejected the City of Montreal's appeal, since they felt they had already known about it since 2002 and the cause of it since 2004. You said that last month that you would be examining, I guess, the situation, and on global TV, that theoretically there could be cross-connections. We plan to be more active in trying to find where the cross-connections are, if they do exist in Côte Saint-Luc. So my question is, what is Côte Saint-Luc doing, given the Court of Appeal has maintained the 4-month deadline? And more specifically, what is your estimate of how many houses that have cross-connections, and how will you fix them?
Right. Well, I'll repeat what I said last time, but you did a very good summary and accurately depicted everything that's happened to date. So the follow-up is, as I said last meeting, we are doing our study, which is a procedure where we could try to determine where there are cross-connections. It's technical, I won't go through it here, but we are trying to do what we can to determine if there are cross-connections in our city. Then the question is, where do we go from there? We're not part of the court case, so that's happening at the same time. All we're doing is providing information, and we will provide the information as it becomes available, and we are being proactive. But as I said, if we do find cross-connections, they're the result of unauthorized work that was done by residents, plumbers, maybe in the 50s or 60s, and developers of those times, and it is possible they do exist. And we'll provide that information when it becomes available. So what's going to happen legally, I'm not sure. You can never predict. I don't have a crystal ball, but we're cooperating in any way that we can to determine if we have any cross-connections.
So does that mean you would fix them if there were such cross-connections?
We're not necessarily the person that would be ordered to fix them, nor would we necessarily force. I mean, it's something for council to decide. We could, there's many things that can happen. So we don't know at this point what we would do. Let's say we find a number of cross-connections, we could apply for financial assistance from other levels of government to try to see if they're willing to help us repair them. We could we'll advise any resident immediately when we find a cross connection that it exists and advise them that they should fix it, so they have that ability to do it themselves, and we'll go from there.
Okay, because time is of the essence.
I know, we're
course.
going. We're moving as fast as
Yeah.
we can to see if, if we find out anything we don't know already. Which we
Okay.
don't know. We don't have any determined yet, so we're seeing.
You're working on it. Okay, good. And just to let you know, we've provided or we've put together an information article on the St. Pierre River and put it on our website so that if you need to refer people to it, there's a bit of a summary there for the importance of the river. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Ed Ruddick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just prior to you opening the meeting, I had a brief conversation with Jonathan Schechter, so at this time, I'm not going to ask you a question, or I'm not going to ask the council a question, but I reserve the right later on.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad, Jonathan, that you answered him the best of your ability. Irving Itman.
Bonjour, hi
Bonjour, hi.
à tout le monde. Monsieur le représentant n'est pas ici pour répondre à bonjour, hi. I have a couple of issues, lemons and laurels, put it that way. And there's a beautiful article here that Councillor Dita Burku was written up in the Suburban, June 27th. Côte Saint-Luc has launched the process, a mobility strategy. Further down, many initiatives must tackle mobility issues, political roundtable, constructive, productive, produce good ideas, coming up with a strategy. I'm a resident here for more than 5 decades. For almost 3 decades, I've been attending meetings here. Councillor Dita Burku taught me one thing almost 3 decades ago. De quoi s'agit-il? As a matter of fact, my son taught me that too, as a senior counsel in the law firm. De quoi s'agit-il? Dad, what's it all about? And I answer, what's it all about, Alfie? The question is, these are part of the lemons. Mobility. 2 issues, Cavendish and Côte Saint-Luc Road. I won't talk about Cavendish, and I'm leading up to my question. Cavendish, it's a question of Mashiach will come first. Côte Saint-Luc, no, seriously, and we should write a play about this, really.
Maybe one day.
Côte Saint-Luc Road, I was a captain for the Yom Ha'atzmaut, Israel Independence Day. We traveled by school bus. And I started to think about this, and some of my people might have been on the bus. I might have been on the bus. And I pity the children that ride those buses, no seat belts. I know as seniors, we were holding on for dear life. Why? Not because of the bus driver, but the condition of Côte Saint-Luc Road, which Councillor Dita Burku many years ago said it's worse than the roads in Baghdad. That was years ago. I'm quoting her. Not only that, the bus driver apologized to everybody. Not only that, the noise level, the decibels. I'd like all of you who have children or grandchildren to ride those buses. So de quoi s'agit-il? My question is, what's it all about? Côte Saint-Luc Road was supposed to be reconstructed in 2015, pushed to 2018. Pushed to 2020. We are hostages. Why are we hostages of the politicians? That's a question. And my comment is, and I'd like an answer to this, my comment is, in 1976, there was a movie, Network. Now, if any of you follow social media, the chat lines, you'll see that the generation with black and blonde hair, and not gray hair, are complaining that they can't get through Côte Saint-Luc with all the condition of the roads. So what is this all about?
Let me talk about a mobility thing, but I first want to speak to you, and I want you to listen and hear this very well.
Yes.
Just like the woman who came here today from Les Amis de Meadowbrook, who does not live in Côte Saint-Luc, but she came here.
Mm-hmm.
If you want something to happen on Côte Saint-Luc Road, instead of wasting your time here, You should be going to the city of Montreal and asking the same question every single month. You shouldn't be coming here, Mr. Ittman. You should be going there.
Mr. Mayor.
No, I do not have any, we as a council are doing everything that we can to push the city of Montreal. But when I go to a city council meeting, I don't sit on the council, I sit on the agglomeration meeting. So at agglomeration meetings, we talk about different things. But at the city council meetings, there is a public question period. And you don't have to be from the city of Montreal proper to ask a question. Or go to ND, or go to Sue Montgomery's borough council meetings and ask the question, because these are the people with the power to make Côte Saint-Luc Road happen. So I know you come here all the time, and it's wonderful to hear you ask the question, but it's not going to make me be able to do any more. If you want to really help us, please go to Sue Montgomery's borough meetings, go to the city of Montreal meetings, and keep on asking the question.
Mayor,
Because we need to keep on pushing them.
Irving, I'll carpool with you. I'll go with
And
you.
bring more people.
I'll take you up on that. Mayor
But
Brownstein.
on her article, I'd like you to comment now on the article, because she's doing a lot of good stuff. She's in charge of the mobility, she's trying her best, I'd like you to respond to that. No, but you have this chairman.
I have an initiative. You know what? The mayor took the words straight out of my mouth. I really feel that it's really important to go to the Côte-Neige NDG borough meetings and go regularly. I don't know if they have their meetings same time as we do. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But I really think it is important because Côte Saint-Luc Road is under the responsibility of Côte-Neige NDG, which is obviously part of the City of Montreal. I don't have to tell you that they're doing all of Côte Saint-Luc Road from DeCarry all the way up to Bonavista, doing Grand Boulevard, they're doing Cavendish Boulevard. So there's quite a bit of movement on the periphery, and we would hope that Côte Saint-Luc Road would be next. And I think that it takes some, some people like you to go and make that very clear. Now, on the other issue, on the mobility issue, look, crossing DeCarry, as we all know, has become extremely difficult, no matter where you cross it. You can cross it at Côte Saint-Luc Road, at Queen Mary, at Côte St. Catherine, at Van Horn, at Vizina. It's just impossible. And you can wait 4, 5, 6, 10 lights. I've been, at certain cross sections where we literally have to wait 4 or 5, lights just to get across. So we call it the committee to improve mobility and to improve fluidity to cross DeCarry. Now we need Côte-Neige and DG to be on board. And until such time as they see it not as facilitating our drivers, but really improving mobility along DeCarry, because that's the major issue. Because we can improve the access, but then when you get to DeCarry, you're stuck, right? I mean, this is the most critical thing. So we tried to work together with and we got the elected officials of Côte-Neige NDG, Mayor Montgomery came, the Mayor of Montreal West came, the Mayor of Hampstead came, our own mayor was there, of course. 2 representatives from the borough of Saint Laurent were very, very willing and able to contribute what they can. And the mayor of TMR also, he regretted he couldn't come, but he wants to participate.
Bottom line, what's the result?
Bottom line is we have to get together and see what we can do on DeCarry, because DeCarry is the problem. We can, even if we open Cavendish, even if and when Cavendish is open, we're still going to have to deal with the issue of the transit along DeCarry. And transit along DeCarry has to be improved by all means, by public transit, by train. We need a train station at the corner of DeCarry Square. We were talking about one, and this group now that's pushing for the REM pulled the plug on the train station behind the DeCarry Square. We had it on the program, and they went and pulled the plug. So the STM, this transport group, the agency, we have to move people by car, by bus, by train, by metro. I mean, we need to improve the mobility. It's clear, and we can't do it together. Exactly what the mayor said with regard to reliance. We have to rely on each other, and we have to pull together. So all I tried to do, and the first meeting was successful. We're going to have a couple of bumps along the road because our city manager tried to bring in the professionals. And the professionals, you know, they have to get their marching orders from the political leadership. So Sue Montgomery came to the table and she said, oh yes, sounds like a good idea, we're going to work together, but now it's got to trickle down to their engineering department. And that's where we're at right now. So we have to work together. We're in an enclave, Mr. Ittman. And you know what? The Cavendish extension, if and when it's going to be built, has to be built taking into account the geography and the peaceable enjoyment of the residents of Côte Saint-Luc. And that's a very important point, because we cannot allow just anything to happen. It has to happen in a way that's going to respect our living environment.
And that's why crossing the carry is extremely important, and coming up with all different ways to move traffic is very important. If we opened up Cavendish, everyone thinks, you have to realize, and I've said this also many times, they're building the Hippodrome, they're building the shopping
Westbury.
mall in the Cascaron, they're building so many of condos and apartments along Jean Talon. If we don't come up with a way to improve traffic around the carry, then extending Cavendish is just going to create a highway through Côte Saint-Luc. So we need to do this first, and we need to do it well.
You know, I must respond with all due respect. I did attend Montreal Council meetings with Dr. Tonchin. I did receive from Mayor Tremblay, Mr. Teflon, a commitment for Cavendish completion 2012. So we are asking you.
There's a new mayor now.
Excuse me, we are at, no, I'm sorry.
New mayor,
So did Coderre promise.
Great, and he-
But I'm not
I
talking
believe
about
it.
Cavendish. I'm talking about a simple thing like Côte Saint-Luc Road, which thousands upon thousands, not only Côte Saint-Luc, travel. I pity somebody who's in an ambulance traveling
They
on
don't
that road.
take Côte Saint-Luc Road anymore.
Anyway,
They don't take.
Mr. Rittman, I'm
So
gonna
the
tell-
question is, we elected you as mayor to represent 30,000 people.
doing it.
Don't depend on people like little old Irving,
Yes, but
okay?
she met with
Because
us. So I
because
meet
it's
her. So I meet the
meaningless.
mayor of
Because it's
Montreal,
meaningless.
Mr. Ittman.
So
I
the-
meet with the mayor of Montreal. But you ask me things that I really only can ask. I
We
have no
need to
power
show
over.
our clout. I used the word
And what is
several
our
times.
club?
It's pressure.
What's the pressure? Showing up at public council meetings in Montreal or in the
No.
borough of NDG, having the suburban report that not only are coming to Côte Saint-Luc, but we're coming to the people that actually have the money and the power to do it. And we're
That's why I'm
lobbying them.
saying, why are we
So-
hostages of
so,
these same
well,
politicians that want to get reelected October 1st, but do nothing?
That's not the province that's going to decide about Côte Saint-Luc Road.
The
City of Montreal.
The laurels are that for almost 5 decades, we've done so many beautiful things for Côte Saint-Luc.
Absolutely. In our city.
Interior.
Exactly.
The-
Because that's what we control.
We have the best city in the country, all right?
That's what we control.
And kol hakavod to you, Mayor Brownstein, Mayor Anthony, previous Mayor Anthony Housefather, the ACC, which is an amazing building, people like late Mayor Lang, previous Mayor
But I'm just going to keep
Rob-
on saying back to you, I'll talk to you for 2 hours if you want. You can say what you want. Lead, lead, lead. Make them do Côte Saint-Luc Road. You're wasting your breath here. You're wasting your breath in Côte Saint-Luc saying it. You really are.
We all try.
We all want it. You're wasting your breath. You're wasting your energy. You're getting nothing accomplished by coming to these meetings asking for Côte Saint-Luc Road. It's not something that I can do for you here.
I'll end by saying one thing. Someone said it in a different way. We failed for all these decades, maybe because of our approach. It's time for a different approach as far as the road system. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
And
Doc, thank you.
happy and healthy New Year to all, and good health. And life is precious.
We
and
have
life
one
is
more
fragile.
meeting before the new year, September 4th. We'll see you then.
September 4th?
Yeah, Dr. Tonchin. It's good to see you, Dr. Tonchin. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if I'm in order or not,
You're always in order.
but I want you to know I am very concerned with the upcoming provincial election. I'm concerned because we are going to lose the elected party in power, and it doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is they're too quiet on separation. You don't hear a word about it anymore, and I believe it's hiding somewhere. What we have to do is face the facts that Quebec is a French province, but bilingualism is of prime importance in Canada. And the way they did it is not correct as far as I am concerned. It should be bilingualism. I'm slow in talking because I am very concerned what's going to happen when there's 3 estate or real estate, whatever you want to call them, parties being formed. And we know, and I don't care who gets in, but I don't want suddenly separatism to be alive again. We had enough of it, and I don't think we should go forward with it anymore.
Thank you.
I want you to know that it's a very deep concern because I feel the Liberal government, and I'm not pro-Liberal or anything right now, but that's a government in power, and they're getting resignations left, right, and center that any of the other parties can come in. Thank God one of the parties is losing its whereabouts, and they were the biggest problem of all. But the others are too quiet, and that has to be of a concern. And I understand the election will be the week of October the 12th or something like that.
October 1st.
Not the 1st, I heard it tonight. And
no.
we are going to be called shortly with a vote, and we have to put our heads on the shoulders and use our heads, not so-and-so is going to come and vote, so-and-so is going to vote. We have to go out and express our opinion. And I'm sorry, I'm taking people's time, but the thing is, we are not voting the way we should. And that's the biggest problem of all.
Thank you, Dr. Chongqing. So without any further questions, we're going to move on because there's no further questions. But I thank you for coming, and we thank you for your concern. Hopefully things will go well in the next election. We'll all do our best to participate. And now we move on to approval of the minutes.
So moved,
Councillor
Mr.
Kovac,
Mayor.
seconded by Councillor Burku.
Yes.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. Business arising from the minutes. Departmental reports. Councillor Kovac. Moved by.
From the library all the way down to the police department.
Seconded by Councillor Burku.
Yes.
Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Councillor Kovac.
Normally, we always talk about our little people, you know, the tots, and we talk about our seniors that we've done so much of at the ACC. But what's really not talked about a lot is that we have a teen department. And the Teen Lounge, and I'll be very brief, has had a wonderful summer. They do activities Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. The teens go on trips. They've gone to Cartamania, La Ronde, they have poolside games. And when we built the Aquatic and Community Center, it was built with the idea of being an intergenerational facility. And we've got a wonderful program for the little kids. We've got swimming programs. We've got a very vibrant senior program. But the teenagers are really starting to use the facility well, not only in the programs that they enlist in, but the drop-in at the Teen Lounge. So let your kids, your grandkids know that it's there. It's something that we really try and get our kids, our teenagers, to come in and use as often as possible. So just to fill in that in-between set. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kovac. Councillor Torchman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to thank the library staff, Janine West in particular, for the unveiling of the permanent sculpture by Dr. Rosen in front of the Ashkelon Park. The library really is a lot more than just books. It's a great venue. We have some temporary art exhibits, and now we have a permanent one. There's a fantastic makerspace area in the downstairs portion of the library that allows kids and adults to produce through 3D printers, cutters, stencils, all kinds of innovative things, basic electronics. I want to thank one of our residents who's here today for helping that come to fruition. I just visit our library. It's a beautiful space, and it offers quite a lot to the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Torgman. Councillor Coe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to let the citizens know that we hope for the same weather as today on Monday, August 27th at 7 p.m., where Councillor Torgman and I will preside over the ceremony to name Leonard Cohen Lane, just at the corner of when you walk down Mark Chagall and you enter the library. We're hoping to have a young musical group there to actually sing some Leonard Cohen songs. The library will be having some Leonard Cohen memorabilia, some Leonard Cohen books on display, and also probably showing a movie. So it'll be a celebration. And Raphael Fleming, whom I know, who was a childhood friend of Leonard Cohen and was in touch with him right up until his final days, will be there to say a few words about Leonard Cohen. In fact, Rafe's daughter is moving into Côte Saint-Luc this week, so he's got a new connection to Côte Saint-Luc. Tonight at the ceremony for Harry Rosen, it was interesting to see our new parking lot, which was finalized only in the fall, filled to capacity. We've seen that with the Dramatic Society as well. When we have high-profile events, a lot of people asked us last summer why so many extra spots, and it's a really, I know we've said it before, but I want to commend our team for the amazing job, Charles Senecal and his team, for what an amazing job they did on this parking lot. And we get nothing but compliments on it right now. It was rough going at the beginning when the construction took place, but it's really, really something to be proud of. The CATS Committee concert will be moved. I think if we would have had it in August this year, I can only imagine how warm it would have been in the Wager Auditorium. And we moved it to October. I think the heat wave should be over by then. Tickets are going to go on sale at the library on as of the 27th of August. And Councillor Kujawski is co-chairing the event with me this year, and he's added a few new wrinkles. We're going to have tickets available online. So all that information is going to be released. We do have a committee meeting on Wednesday night. If anyone is interested in joining our committee, we're going to be here Wednesday night at 7:30 to plan the first phase of the concert. And finally, a new stop sign is going to be going up on Kildare Road near Rembrandt. Residents of Rembrandt have been asking me for some time now, can we do anything to help them make a left turn in the morning when the Bialik JPPS parade of parents are going back and forth. We were only able to put it on one side because the other side it would block up traffic coming from Cavendish. I want to thank Councillor Torgman and the traffic committee for taking that request, and we'll be monitoring it to see how it goes. Nothing's permanent, but hopefully it's going to work out. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cullen. Councillor Erdelich.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to update residents on a few items. I'll start on the finance portfolio. The finance department is already, along with the city directors, are already starting to work on the 2019 budget. So we're doing our best to make sure we continue to meet the needs of the city at the same time, trying to balance the needs of residents, and at the same time making sure the budget is one where the tax increase is not beyond a reasonable number. On the environmental side, I wanted to mention that coming up on Sunday, August 26th, is our next Household Hazardous Waste Day. Residents will be able to bring in their hazardous waste, their electronic waste, and their polystyrene or styrofoam or type 6 plastic. And residents who have paper, let's say secure documents that need to be shredded, can bring them in on that day. I know it's something that some of the residents have asked for, so that'll be coming up on Sunday, August 26th. I also want to mention on some local items in District 4, the Public Works Department did a great job at Fletcher Park. There was a grassy area between the skateboarding spot, and the playground area where the grass had been worn out. And over the last few weeks, the Public Works Department spent a lot of time leveling the ground, putting new grass. Of course, I just hope it'll last. I know it's probably one of the most heavily used parks in all of Côte Saint-Luc, but hopefully that grass will stay. And at Schwartz Park, some of the sand was redone, refreshed, so I'm hoping that residents will be happy with that. And last thing, as a follow-up to what Councillor Cohn mentioned, in District 4, there'll be a new stop sign going up on Smart and Westover. This is one that residents have requested, one where some traffic studies were done in the past and also showed the need for this extra stop sign. And over the next month or two, there'll be some other traffic calming devices, including to deal with the fact that there's residents who are avoiding the traffic light at Côte Saint-Luc Road in Westminster and sort of bypassing it, so to try to discourage residents from doing that. And that'll be coming out shortly. So the new stop sign will be there, just to mention again, on August 27th. And that's it for now. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Kajowski.
Well, just to continue along the same thought process, there'll be new stop signs installed in District 5 as well on our 3 collector streets on Guelph, Kildare, and Mackle. So we're actually adding a stop sign to each of those 3 collectors. The stop signs will be removed at the corners of West Luke on the 3 collectors, and stop signs added to Smart and Palmer. There'll be an additional stop sign, so 4 total stop signs now on each of the 3 collectors on Guelph, Kildare, and Mackle. Again, part of a bigger picture of traffic calming throughout the city, where we have a lot of children, especially in District 5. I wanted to mention as well, in 10 days from now, on August 23rd, will be the debut performance of Grandma Mia, a parody of Mamma Mia. That's our senior summer works play for the year. Again, kind of the follow-up to Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, which was a great success. We have another intergenerational cast. There's 4 children, this time in, I'd say, more prominent roles, and one of them almost a starring role in the play, as well as obviously seniors and those in the middle, I guess you'd say. So get your tickets. We're actually 5 tickets away from being sold out for the premiere performance on the 23rd. So it's very exciting. We sold about 60% of the tickets so far, so there's still plenty of tickets available. And just finally, on a more personal, I guess, note, I am holding my first District 5 Town Hall meeting, Irving, on Wednesday night, right here at 7 p.m. So sorry to hijack Mike's and my own CAT committee meeting. We unfortunately are conflicting a little bit. Their meeting's at 7:30, so I guess some of us will be in and out, but...
It's just perfect.
Yeah, oh, well done. Well done. So 7 o'clock here in council chambers will be set up down on the floor. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, really anyone throughout the city, but obviously like focus on District 5 and update everyone on different things going on in the district, what we have planned for the next few months, even a couple of years, hopefully. So, pardon? This Wednesday, August, 15th at 7 p.m.
Thank you, Councillor Kajowski.
Question from Mr. Ittman? Pardon?
Questions, of
Questions
course.
allowed,
That's
and
what it's all
dogs,
about.
and dogs too. Oh no, we're not allowed
Okay,
dogs.
not in the
public
building.
buildings.
Any other reports, comments on the reports? No further reports. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to item number 5A. Councillor Torchman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Je dépose le projet de règlement 2515 intitulé « Le règlement établissant la grille tarifaire de la Bibliothèque publique Eleanor London, Côte Saint-Luc pour septembre 2018 à mars 2019. »
Okay. Et le dépôt du projet. And you have to do the tabling of the draft bylaw. So it's right here. Le dépôt du projet. Le conseiller a déposé le projet de règlement.
That's what I just read, no? That's right?
You read both? Because first it's a notice of motion and then a dépôt du projet.
I'm sorry, I apologize. Alors, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Je dépose à donner avis de motion que le règlement 2515 à être intitulé « Règlement établissant la grille tarifaire de la Bibliothèque publique Eleanor London, Côte Saint-Luc pour septembre 2019 à mars 2019 » sera présenté à une réunion subséquente pour l'adoption.
Okay, so that is a notice of motion, a tabling of the draft bylaw concerning the fee schedule for the London Public Library. Thank you, Councillor Torchman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And now we move to item 5B. Councillor Torchman.
For this one, sorry, Mr. Mayor, the bylaw escaped me.
It's 167.
It's not popping up on
5A.
167.
167 on your page.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the City Council hereby award a contract for the purchase of chairs for the multipurpose room to Delta and authorizes the payment of an amount not to exceed $9,360 plus all applicable taxes, that the described expenses shall be financed in whole from the city's working fund as a non-interest bearing loan, that the council shall provide every year out of its general fund a sum sufficient to repay the loan back into the working fund, and that the term of the repayment shall not exceed 5 years, that a treasurer's certificate numbered TC 18-0141 and dated July 31st, 2018 has been issued by the treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Torchman, seconded by Councillor Kovac. Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We'll have nice new chairs for the library room. Which room is that? The
Multipurpose.
multipurpose room. The multipurpose room. Wonderful. Item 6A, Councillor Erdl.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that bylaw 2514 entitled bylaw repealing bylaw 2327 authorizing a loan of $150,000 for the renovation of the building envelope at City Hall located at 5801 Cavendish Boulevard and the Eleanor London Côte Saint-Luc Public Library at 5851 Cavendish Boulevard be and is hereby adopted.
Thank you. So, and seconded by
Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Kujawski.
So, if I may, Mr.
Yeah,
Mayor?
go ahead.
If I may explain briefly. So this bylaw, the original bylaw, bylaw 2327, actually dates back to 2010, about 8 years ago. At the time, it was adopted for work on the building envelope. Since then, other bylaws, more recent bylaws have been adopted, and the money was used from those bylaws for the renovations. Because this is an old bylaw, and because we're not actually going to be using it, we're repealing it. And the reason we do this is similar to what let's say an individual would do sometimes if you have too many credit cards out in your name. It could affect your credit rating, so we do this as well so that it won't affect us in the future when we try to borrow money. We don't want it to appear that we have too much money that's potentially out to being borrowed. So we do this so the Ministry of Municipal Affairs of the provincial government knows that we are not going to be using this bylaw.
Okay. So moved and seconded by, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to item 6B, Councillor Erdl.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that bylaw 2516 entitled repealing bylaw 2386 authorizing a loan of $18,000 for the purchase and installation of various traffic control devices be and is hereby adopted.
Seconded by Councillor Torchman. Any discussion?
Again, just to mention, it's similar to the previous one. This is an old bylaw where we're not using money anymore.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. 6C, Councillor Erdl.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hereby give notice of motion that bylaw 2518 to be entitled bylaw 2518 settling the rate of transfer for transfer duties applicable to transfers for which the basis of imposition exceeds $1 million will be presented at a later meeting for adoption.
And the filer.
I hereby file draft bylaw 2518 entitled bylaw 2518 setting the rate for transfer duties applicable to transfers for which the basis of imposition exceeds $1 million.
Thank you, Councillor Erdl. Would you like to explain that? Or?
So just to explain briefly, for many years, Côte Saint-Luc, along with I should say with all the demerged cities on the island of Montreal, didn't have the same taxation powers with regard to welcome taxes, as the City of Montreal did. What happened on January 1st, 2018, it was a change in the provincial law allowed the other cities on the island of Montreal to have the same power as the City of Montreal. So what we are looking at is raising the tax rate for welcome tax and it's only for homes that are $1 million and more, and only on the value that is over $1 million. So this would be an extra 1% for the portion that's over $1 million for new homes that are sold in Côte Saint-Luc. Just to mention, it's a small percentage of the homes in Côte Saint-Luc that are actually over $1 million, but this would be an extra tax that would allow Côte Saint-Luc to benefit, as is being done by the City of Montreal, and at this point, many of the other demerged cities have followed as well in the last few months. And today's just notice of motion. It will be adopted at a later meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Early. Item D, 6D.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hereby give notice of motion that bylaw 2278-2, to be entitled bylaw 2278-2, to amend bylaw 2278 regarding various changes in terms of costs and additions as presented on Annex A attached to this present bylaw as an integral part thereof will be presented at a later meeting for adoption.
On the file.
I hereby file draft bylaw 2278-2 entitled bylaw 2278-2 to amend bylaw 2278 regarding various changes in terms of costs and additions as presented on Annex A attached to this present bylaw as an integral part thereof, which will be presented at a later meeting for adoption.
Thank you, Councillor Early. Any discussion on that?
So just to mention, this basically affects some of the fees that residents or real estate agents would pay. So there's 4 key changes that are being done here. One is a request for a tax balance confirmation. The fee is being increased from $10 to $20. This is consistent with what's being done in other demerged cities. There is an obligation for a resident who has a return check or a check that is bounced or NSF. If a resident does it twice within a 12-month period, then for the next 2 years, they have to pay by certified check. So this is to deal with certain residents that are bouncing checks or certain institutions that are bouncing checks. It also deals with the fare charge or the fee charge for marriage, for civil marriage or union, to standardize it with the rest of the cities on the island and the province. And it also deals with public notices for tax sale, so that to make sure the costs are equally shared by all the owners and that it covers all the costs required by the city to publish in suburban or other newspapers.
Thank you, Councillor Early. Item 6E, Councillor Coe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wish to give notice of motion that bylaw 2519 to be entitled bylaw 2519 to fix the remuneration of the mayor and members of council will be presented at a later meeting for adoption. And then should I do the filing?
Yes.
I wish to file draft bylaw 2519 entitled bylaw 2519 to fix the remuneration of the mayor and members of council.
Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, as people may be aware, there's a new federal requirement that's treating the expense allowance of mayors and councillors in Canada as taxable income for the first time. So what we are doing is the remuneration of the mayor and the councillors are being adjusted in order to keep our remuneration at the same rate as present. So basically, it's an adjustment in relation to the new federal legislation.
Thank you, Councillor Coe. And now we move on to item F, Councillor Torgy. No, Councillor Early.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council amends bylaw 2511 entitled bylaw 2511 decreeing various facility upgrades for Kerwin and Trudeau Parks and applications of the sum of $142,945 taken from available balances on bylaws 2289, 2305, 2306, 2325, 2335, 59, 60, 61, 2428, 29, 30, 31, 2449, 60, and 61, in view of financing an expense of $142,945 as follows. The preamble of bylaw 2511 is amended by inserting the following: whereas the city of Côte Saint-Luc wishes to avail itself of the power provided in the second paragraph of the second alinea of Article 544 of the Cities and Towns Act. The preamble of bylaw 2511 is amended by removing the following. Whereas the cost of various facility upgrades for Kerwin and Trudeau Park is estimated at $314,556 according to the estimated cost of the engineering department dated December 18th, 2017. And Article 2 of bylaw 2511 is replaced by the following. Council is authorized by this present bylaw to spend an amount of $314,556 to proceed with the various facility upgrades of Kerwin and Trudeau Parks and the application of the sum of $142,945 taken from the available balances of bylaws listed previously in view of financing an expense of $142,945, and that a certified true copy of the present resolution and the amended bylaw 2511 be transmitted to the Ministère des Affaires municipales et de l'occupation du territoire.
Thank you, Councillor Erdely. Seconded by Councillor Kajowski. Any discussion?
So just to explain briefly, this is a bylaw that we adopted actually last month in July. We had sent the phrasing to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs. There were some issues they had with the specific phrasing, but so in other words, we're readopting it and making some slight amendments to the phrasing, but in effect, it's the same bylaw where what we're doing is taking money from old bylaws that were not fully used and taking that money to be used for the upcoming renovations for Kerwin and Trudeau Park.
Thank you,
Trudeau
Councillor
Parks.
Erdely.
Thank you.
So moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to item 6G, Councillor Erdely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a similar motion. Be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc City Council amends bylaw 2512 entitled Bylaw Decreeing Road Resurfacing at Various Locations Within the Territory of Côte Saint-Luc and the application of the sum of $840,000 taken from the available balances of bylaws 2290, 2307, 2317, 2333, and 2428 in view of financing an expense of $840,000 as follows. The preamble of bylaw 2512 is amended by inserting the following. Whereas the City of Côte Saint-Luc wishes to avail itself of the powers provided in the second paragraph of the second alinea of Article 544 of the Cities and Towns Act, the preamble of bylaw 2512 is amended by removing the following. Whereas the cost of road resurfacing at various locations within the territory of Côte Saint-Luc is estimated at $840,000, according to the estimated cost of the engineering department dated December 18th, 2017. And Article 2 of bylaw 2512 is replaced by the following. Council is authorized by this present bylaw to spend an amount of $840,000 to proceed with road resurfacing at various locations within the territory of Côte Saint-Luc and the application of the sum of $840,000 taken from the available balances of the bylaws previously mentioned in view of financing an expense of $840,000, and that a certified true copy of the present resolution and the amended bylaw 2512 be transmitted to the Ministère des Affaires municipales et de l'occupation du territoire.
Moved by Councillor Erdely, seconded by Councillor Kajowski. Any discussion?
So just to reiterate, this is similar to the previous one. Again, we're taking money from old bylaws, reusing it for road resurfacing. Again, this bylaw was adopted in July. The Minister of Municipal Affairs had a few issues with the phrasing. Thus, it's amended and being readopted today.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to item H. Councillor Erdely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the attached list of disbursements for the period of July 1st, 2018 to July 31st, 2018 for a total amount of $6,346,376.19 in Canadian funds, and that Treasurer Certificate number 18-0142 dated August 1st, 2018 has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Erdely, seconded by Councillor Kajowski. Any discussion?
So just to mention some of the key items we have is some of the work that's been done on our pipes and sewer network over the last few months. There's also payment, a capital repayment from a bond through the Ministry of Finance, and there's also a payment to the CMM as well that's part of this $6.3 million.
Thank you. Moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried. Now we move to item 7A, it's deferred. To next meeting, or we don't need to give a date? We don't need to give a date, just deferred. Okay. Item 8A, Councillor Torchman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the appointment of Catherine Bézère as temporary coordinator of youth services, management maternity leave replacement, effective July 15th, 2018. That Treasurer Certificate number 18-0137, dated July 30th, 2018, has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Torchman, seconded by Councillor Kajewski. Any discussion?
It's just a maternity leave replacement within the library.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to item 8B, Councillor Kovac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the hiring of Sandrine Brière-Dulude as a Côte Saint-Luc Aquatics Triathlon team coach into a management position for a fixed-term contract effective May the 1st, September 2018 to September the 9th, 2018, and that the Treasurer Certificate number 18-0145 dated August the 2nd, 2018 has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Kovac, seconded by Councillor Kajewski. Nope. Well, whoever wants to.
Mike.
Mike, Councillor Cohen.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. So moved and seconded. Any discussion? All,
Self-explanatory.
okay, all in favor? Okay, no one's opposed. Okay, carried unanimously. We move to item 8C. Councillor Kovac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the hiring of the blue-collar auxiliary employees whose names are listed on the document entitled Auxiliary Employees Blue-Collar Hiring, dated August the 2nd, 2018, and that said employees' terms of employment will be as per the conditions of the collective agreement, and that the Treasurer Certificate number 18-0143, dated August the 2nd, 2018, has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses. And this is really for 3 blue-collar workers in Parks and Recreation.
Moved by Councillor Kovac, seconded by
Mike.
Yeah, me.
Councillor Cohen. Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And now we move to item 8D. 8D, Councillor Kovac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the hiring of the white-collar auxiliary employees whose names are listed on the document entitled Part-Time Employees White-Collar Hiring, dated July 31st, 2018, and said employees' terms of employment will be as per the conditions of the collective agreement. Treasurer Certificate number 18-0144, dated August the 2nd, 2018, has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Kovac, seconded by Councillor Cohen.
Yep.
Any discussion?
Just, these were some day camp counselors and lifeguard instructors.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously, and we move to the next item, which is E. Councillor Kovac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the Côte Saint-Luc, be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the title change of a permanent management employee, Michael Calcott, from Team Development Coordinator to Swim Team Manager, effective March the 26th, 2018, and that the Treasurer Certificate number 18-0139, dated July the 30th, 2018, has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Kovac, seconded by Councillor Kajewski. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to item F. Councillor Kovac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the hiring of Paris Sovaris and Jameson Pierre Charles as on-call public security agents, white-collar auxiliary positions, effective June the 18th, 2018, and that the treasurer's certificate number 18-0140, dated July the 31st, 2018, has been issued by the city treasurer, attesting the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Seconded by Councillor Berco. Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to item G. Councillor Kovac.
Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the hiring of Tyler De Jesus as an office agent, permanent white-collar position, effective July the 9th, 2018, and that the treasurer's certificate number 18-0136, dated July the 30th, 2018, has been issued by the city treasurer, attesting to availability of funds to cover the above described expenses, and this is in the finance department. It's the hiring of an office agent.
Seconded by Councillor Berco?
Yes.
Councillor Erdely. Councillor Erdely. Excellent. Any other discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried. And now we move on to item 8H. Councillor Erdely, I believe.
No.
Councillor
No, I think it's
Berco.
Councillor Berco.
Councillor Berco. I can't read my own handwriting.
These are disciplinary measures. Be it resolved, the Côte Saint-Luc Council approves the recommendation of the Associate City Manager to suspend employee number 1366 of the Public Safety Department for 3 working days without pay.
Moved by Councillor Berco, seconded by Councillor Kovac. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried. Item 8I, Councillor Berco.
Now we move on to the Public Works Department. So be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc Council approves the recommendation of the Associate City Manager to suspend employee 2187 of the Public Works Department for a period of 10 working days without pay.
Moved by Councillor Berco, seconded by Councillor Kovac. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried.
And
Unanimously.
finally,
J.
be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc Council approves the termination of employment of blue-collar auxiliary employee number 3186, effective July 6, 2018.
Moved by Councillor Berco, seconded by Councillor Kovac. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And number K, Councillor Kovac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves a title change of permanent management employee Jonathan Schechter from Associate City Manager to Co-City Manager, effective June the 11th, 2018, that the Treasurer's Certificate number 18-0139, dated August the 9th, 2018, has been issued by the City Treasurer, attesting to availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Kovac, seconded by Councillor Cohen.
Yep.
Any discussion? I'd only like to congratulate Co-City Manager Schechter for the new position. It's the same position with additional responsibilities, thereby the title Co-City Manager. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried with Councillor Torgman dissenting. Now we move to item number 9A. Maitre Schechter.
So, this is the tabling of a certificate related to the results of a register, which I will now be reading aloud as per the law. So I'm reporting that after the registration proceedings called for and held at 5801 Cavendish Boulevard from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. on July 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, concerning bylaw 2511 entitled Bylaw 2511 decreeing various facility upgrades for Kerwin and Trudeau Parks and the application of the sum of $142,945 taken from the available balances on bylaws 2289, 2305, 2306, 2325, 2335, 2359, 2360, 2361, 2428, 2429, 2430, 2431, 2449, 2460, and 2461 in lieu of the financing and expense of $142,945. The number of persons qualified to vote on the bylaw is 22,561. number of signatures of persons qualified to vote required to make the whole referendum poll obligatory is 2,267. The number of persons qualified to vote who registered is 1. Therefore, bylaw 2511 has been deemed approved by the persons qualified to vote.
Thank you, Maitre Schechter. And now we move to item number 9B, Councillor Kajavsky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hereby give notice of motion that bylaw 2517 to be entitled Bylaw Regulating the Traffic of Trucks and Tool Vehicles be presented at a later meeting for adoption.
Okay, and filing.
Hereby file draft bylaw 2517 entitled Bylaw Regulating the Traffic of Trucks and Tool Vehicles.
Thank you, Councillor Kajavsky. Any discussion? No, just a truck route. Côte Saint-Luc Road.
Côte Saint-Luc Road.
And now we go to item 10A, which is Councillor Kovac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council hereby authorizes the renewal of an agreement with the SPVM entitled Protocole d'entente sur la vérification de la divulgation des antécédents des candidats appelés à ouvrir auprès des personnes vulnérables, bearing number DV2006-024, consisting of 7 pages plus 1 annex. That council authorizes the following employees to sign the verification request forms for volunteers in the Emergency Medical Services or Volunteer Citizens on Patrol program. Jordy Reichson, Director of Public Safety. Philippe Chateauvert, Manager of Operations Public Safety. Una Graham, Secretary Public Safety. Anthony Tsakan, Lieutenant Public Safety. And that council further authorizes the City Manager, Co-City Manager, General Counsel, or Director of Public Safety to sign any documents to give effect to the foregoing.
Moved by Councillor Kovac, seconded by Councillor
Burku. So
Any discussion? Councillor Kovac.
basically, this is because we have volunteers and they go into people's homes and deal with private matters. We also do police background checks on everybody that registers as a volunteer. This is an ongoing process that we have. We have it in the library for the volunteers and in Parks and Recreation as well, but this is specific to the Public Safety Department.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move on to item 11A. Councillor Benizri.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Soit résolu que le conseil municipal par la présente approuve, ratifie et autorise le paiement des dépenses supplémentaires suivantes. Catégorie 1, artère principale, CMS Entrepreneurs Généraux Incorporés, 25 800 $ plus les taxes applicables. Catégorie 2, artère secondaire, les entreprises Canbec Construction Inc., 3 560 $ et 44 cents plus les taxes applicables. Catégorie 3, secteur tertiaire, les entreprises Canbec Construction Inc., 1 397 $ et 42 cents plus les taxes applicables.
Proposé par le conseiller Benizri, appuyé par le conseiller Cohen.
Yep.
OK. Est-ce qu'il y a des discussions? Oui. Non.
C'est juste pour le, c'est en raison des chutes de neige plus importantes que d'habitude. Il y a eu un supplément à payer à nos entrepreneurs.
Proposé et appuyé, tout le monde en faveur. Est-ce qu'il y a quelqu'un contre? Yeah, you're in favor because you seconded it. Okay.
Yeah.
Est-ce qu'il y a
Il y a une
Je pense qu'il y a une deuxième résolution.
deuxième résolution?
Oui, il y a une deuxième résolution. Alors, Monsieur le maire, soit résolu que le conseil municipal par la présente approuve, ratifie et autorise le paiement des dépenses suivantes. Catégorie 3, location de 5 niveleuses avec opérateur. Les entreprises Canbec Construction Inc., 109 000 $ 295 plus les taxes applicables. Entreprise Vaillant, 1994, 25 423 $ et 51 cents plus les taxes applicables. Catégorie 4, location de 3 bulldozers avec des opérateurs. Location J. Richard Gauthier Inc., 248 890 $. Catégorie 5, location de 9 camions à 12 roues avec des opérateurs. Les entreprises Canbec Construction Inc., 48 896,99 $, plus les taxes applicables. Les entreprises Marc Logo Inc., 242 054 $242 054,89 $, plus les taxes applicables. Location d'une pelle mécanique pour le dépôt à neige, location J. Richard Gauthier Inc., 22 822 $.
Proposé pour le conseiller Benizri, appuyé par le conseiller Cohen. Est-ce qu'il y a des discussions? Tout le monde en faveur? Est-ce qu'il y a quelqu'un contre? Appuyé unanimement. And now we move to item 12A, which is Councilor Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, whereas David Scheinhardt and Giuseppina Lombardi are the owners of the property located at 5551 Cavendish, whereas the owners have built a fence on city property along Merton, whereas if the city of Côte Saint-Luc would ever require the property that has been encroached upon, an encroachment agreement must be executed between the owners and the city. Be it resolved, the City of Côte Saint-Luc hereby authorizes the encroachment agreement effective August 7th, 2018, between the city and the owners of the property, and the city's general council be hereby authorized to sign said agreement.
Moved by Councilor Burku, seconded by Councilor Kovac. Any discussion?
So this is simply, we agreed to allow these property owners to build a fence along Merton, just as you approach Cavendish, on the east side of Cavendish. We've allowed them to build a fence on our property, and it's just an agreement to allow that encroachment in the event that we would need to build or to use the setback. It's on it's the west side. No, it's the east side. It's the east side of Cavendish, it's the, how should I put it? It's the east side of Cavendish, along Merton. Okay?
So moved and seconded, all in favor? Or we did the all in favor? No, all in favor, anyone opposed? Carried. And now we move on to item 13, urban development. 13A, Councilor Kajowski. Kerwin Park refurbishments, professional services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the City of Côte Saint-Luc Council hereby awards a professional services contract to Stan Steck Expert Conseil Limité, the lowest bidder under the Cities and Towns Act, for a total amount of $343,539 plus applicable taxes. That furthermore, the city may consider an amount of 10% plus applicable taxes for any potential contingencies and extras, if required, that shall first be approved according to the city's procedures, that the described expenses shall be financed from project ABL 2018-02, bylaw 2511, that treasurer certificate number TC 18-0146, dated August 3rd, 2018, has been issued by the city treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Thank you, Councilor Kajowski, seconded by Councilor Kovac. Any discussion? Councilor Kajowski.
Yes, so this is to award the professional services to Stantec for Kerwin Park for the planning and eventual reconstruction of Kerwin Park for next summer, which we're very, very excited about in District 5.
Excellent. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. Looking forward to gorgeous park. 13B, Councilor Burku.
Okay, this is the restoration of the bricks? All right.
Yes.
Okay, so now dealing with the library, be it resolved that city hereby approves the change order for work under project C-02-16 for contractor services for the rehabilitation work on the building envelope of Côte Saint-Luc Eleanor Public Library to Germano, and authorizes payment of an amount not to exceed $42,078 plus applicable taxes, that the payment for the change order shall be financed in virtue of loan bylaw 2445 as approved by the Mamrot, and that the city treasurer has issued a treasurer's certificate attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Moved by Councilor Burku, seconded by Councilor Torgman. Any discussion?
Well, as we all know, we've been spending quite a bit of money on the library and on the City Hall bricks. And so this was work that was done under the contract that was originally awarded. Let me just take a look at this. Way back it started in 2011. So now I have a split screen, so I have a problem. But anyway, so added to the $2 million contract, which was originally awarded, we had some change orders, and now we're approving those change orders. We hope that the work will be finished soon. That's all I can say, because it's been going on for a long, long time.
Sorry, just,
Yeah.
if I may,
Go ahead.
just
Yeah.
to clarify, there's
Yeah.
still the third phase,
Okay.
which is this building, which hasn't yet even begun. So
Right.
the first phase, just to remind everyone, was the central tower, the cooling tower. The second phase, the library. The third phase is the city hall side, which will only be starting in the next year or two. So we're still a bit of ways before we're done. Just to mention.
Okay, moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to item 13C. Councillor Kajewski.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the City of Côte Saint-Luc hereby approves the change order for additional works under project C-08-17P for professional services related to the rehabilitation of the Cavendish Underpass and authorizes payment of an amount not to exceed $199,780.27 plus applicable taxes to SMI, that the described expenses shall be financed from loan bylaw 2480, previously approved by the Ministère des Affaires municipales et Occupation du Territoire, that the city treasurer has issued a treasurer certificate TC 18-0149 on August 7, 2018, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Kajewski, seconded by Councillor Cohen. Any discussion?
Well, just in brief, this is to approve a change order, additional funds to be spent on rehabilitation of the Cavendish Underpass for items that could not have been foreseen until the excavation of the
This
underpass
is for the
began.
professional services, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And we moved on to item D. Councillor Berger.
No,
sorry.
we still have to do a
There's
resolution
still
under
there's a second
13C.
resolution for the actual.
C.
First was professional services,
The
and now
resolution now.
This is for the contractor.
Councillor Kajewski, resolution.
393.
Yeah.
Good catch.
May it be resolved that the city hereby approves the change order for additional works under project C-08-17C for contractor services related to the rehabilitation of the Cavendish Underpass and authorizes payment of an amount not to exceed $610,173.28 plus applicable taxes to Construction Dimco Inc., that the described expenses shall be financed in whole from bylaw 2480, previously approved by the Ministère des Affaires municipales et Occupation du Territoire, that the city treasurer has issued the treasurer certificate number TC 18-0148 on August 7, 2018, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Okay, moved and seconded by Councillor Cohen. Any discussion?
Ditto on my previous comments. So the first was for professional services. This is for the actual work involved in
So
the
basically,
rehabilitation.
these are work that is being done for issues that were not visible and could not be visible until excavation was done on the underpass. Moved and seconded, all in favor. Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And we move to item 13D, Councillor Berger.
No, I think
No?
it's, these are for the lights? I could do it. It's not,
I have
that's fine.
you.
Okay,
Could be someone else.
so it's fine. So whereas the City of Côte Saint-Luc made an invited call for tenders for professional services regarding an inspection and intervention plan for lampposts and traffic lights under tender C-26-18P and received 2 conforming bids, whereas according to the city system of bid weighting and evaluation, the bid from Les Services EXP Inc. received the highest final score and is therefore deemed the lowest bidder under the Cities and Towns Act. That the City of be it resolved, City of Côte Saint-Luc Council hereby awards a professional services contract to Les Services EXP Inc., the lowest bidder under the law, for a total amount of $38,660 plus applicable taxes. That furthermore, the city may consider an amount of 10% plus applicable taxes for any potential contingencies and extras if required that shall first be approved according to the city's procedures, that the described expenses shall be financed from loan bylaw 2500 previously approved by the Ministère des Affaires Municipales, and that the treasurer's certificate attesting to the availability of funds for the described expenses is hereby attached.
Moved by Councillor Berkeley, seconded by Councillor Kovac. Any discussion?
Well, it says in our presentation here that this is part of the Smart City Initiative. City of Côte Saint-Luc plans to replace all the existing street lights to LED. This will reduce the energy consumption of the network, which dates to the mid-70s, improve aesthetics, as well as reduce the manpower required to maintain the street lights. So it is estimated there are 1,500 Cobra head street lights. Those are the ones that have the long arm which extends over the road. And throughout the city, due to the age of the structure, has been observed the existing street lights and combined traffic lights on the arterial streets. We're going to be looking at Cavendish first, of course, will require interventions. And so we're first going to do the inspection, and then we're going to assess the structural integrity, and that's what we're doing right now. We're doing the inspection of 140 Cobra head street light bases, and the inspection to assess the integrity of 33 traffic lights. And after that, we'll look at doing further work towards replacing the alarm.
Moved by Councillor Berku, seconded by Councillor Kovac. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And now we move to item 14A, Councillor Kajavsky. 14A.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Bless you.
Joel sneezed on the truth. This is just a notice of motion, I believe, as well, correct? I hereby give notice of motion that bylaw number 2217-FFF-P1 to be entitled Bylaw to amend the zoning bylaw number 2217 of the City of Côte Saint-Luc in order to authorize the installation of temporary car shelters in zones RU and RB will be presented at a later meeting for adoption. The objective of this bylaw is to allow the installation of temporary car shelters in all RU and RB zones, and this under conditions.
And filing.
I hereby file draft bylaw number 2217-FFF-P1 entitled Bylaw to amend the zoning bylaw number 2217 of the City of Côte Saint-Luc in order to authorize the installation of temporary car shelters in zones RU and RB.
Thank you. Any discussion on or you want me to do it? I'll be happy to do it.
Please.
Okay, so this is the first step in a 3 or 4 phase process regarding.
We have to adopt,
We
yeah,
had a adopt? It was-
we have to adopt the first draft bylaw, page 403.
Resolution approving. Okay, keep on going. Resolution approving. Then I'll discuss it.
Okay, here we go. Be it resolved that in conformity with an act respecting land use and development, the Council of the City of Côte Saint-Luc hereby adopts the first draft bylaw number 2217-FFF-P1 to be entitled Bylaw to amend the zoning bylaw number 2217 of the City of Côte Saint-Luc in order to authorize the installation of temporary car shelters in zones RU and RB. That in conformity with section 125, paragraph 2 of the Land Use Planning and Development Act, Council hereby delegates to the City Clerk the power to set the date, time, and place of the public consultation meeting.
Okay, seconded by, who would like to second the tempos? Councillor Torchman. Any discussion? First, okay, I'll discuss after. I'll discuss now. I'll discuss now, and then we'll, as usual, and then we'll do the vote. So on tempos, it's a 4-phase process. We do have the opportunity every, how many years to do the concordance bylaws?
It's called the Can now.
Yeah.
Every 5 years.
Every 5 years.
Yeah.
So we do have the option of changing zoning bylaws in concordance without this whole procedure of register and referendum every 5 years, which is coming up right now, but we don't want to do it with tempos. We feel that tempos is an issue that some people are going to be in favor of and some people will be against. And that's why we want to go through the whole procedure of the 4 phases, which means the first phase is today, and then we have a public notice regarding a public consultation, which will be at our next council meeting on September 4th, and a resolution approving a second draft bylaw on September 4th. And then there's a public notice on September 20th to hold a registry And then if there's signatures in the various zones requesting a referendum, then there's a referendum. Now, why we're going through this whole procedure is we want the people to tell us, yes, we know a lot of people, we do first of all already allow tempos in our city. And it should be clear and people should know that. The rule right now, the bylaw exists. If you don't have a garage, you're allowed to have a tempo. So this bylaw is going a step further and saying even if you have a garage, you can have a tempo. Now, in certain areas of the city, people really want it. In other areas of the city, they might say they don't. And that's why we're going through the procedure where people can sign a registry and then council can decide whether they want to go for referendum in those zones. It could be citywide, depending on how many people sign the registry. It could be less. And then council will have to decide what to do with it. Or nobody could sign the registry, and that would be an indication that people don't care. So we want the people to let us know what you feel about tempos, and then we will respond accordingly. And now we will go for the vote on this resolution. Yeah, go ahead.
Before we vote, I would like to say a few words.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to say that I am in favor of opening up the option for residents who would like a tempo or a car shelter. I also am hoping that so just to mention, this bylaw deals with allowing or not allowing, doesn't deal with the actual fees for the tempos or the car shelters. Currently, there's a fee structure in place for residents that don't have a garage, where they have a one-time fee that they pay and not an annual fee. My hope is that when it comes time to adopting that fee, council will take that in consideration and look at and hopefully come up with a structure that doesn't penalize those residents that, to this point, have been able to have a car shelter because they don't have a garage spot. So for that reason, I will be voting in favor of this bylaw, or the draft bylaw today, but I hope that when it comes time to adopting later on the fee bylaw related to this, I hope the council will take that in consideration.
Thank you, Councillor Italy. Anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Cohen.
Yes, I'm really happy for the people who need this, and there are many people, seniors, who really can't get up in the morning and shovel the snow, and so I think that we're progressing as a council. We're listening to our citizens, and those that need it will have it. Yes, it's not, some streets are not going to win a beauty contest, but I think it's going to make life easier for a lot of people, and I think that's what our priority should be.
Thank you, Councillor Cohen. Anyone else wish to speak? No? Okay, so we'll call for the vote. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Passed with Councillor Kovac dissenting. And now we move to item 14.1A.
Oh, sorry.
There'll be a second question period. There'll be a second question period. Now we're moving on to item 14.1A. It's the urban planning. I'm going to send it over to Councillor Burku.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
See some pictures?
Yeah, we're going to see pictures.
Good. We have pictures.
Are we deferring this?
Okay. So the first one on the agenda was, I believe it was Rand, so that item is deferred until September 4th. And the second item on the agenda, I'm just trying to follow with the paper. I thought it might be easier.
Wavell.
Okay, so that's Wavell, 7488 Wavell. That's 14.1B, is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so be it resolved that the Site Planning and Architectural Integration Program received May 4th, 2018, showing the construction of a rear extension to an existing single-family semi-detached dwelling on lot number 105-4214 at 7488 Wavell, and prepared by Solarium Espace de Vie, contractor for the Planning Advisory Committee meeting of June 12, 2018, be approved according to the provisions of Chapter 14 of Bylaw 2217 of the City of Côte Saint-Luc.
Moved by Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor Torgman. Any discussion?
So basically, as you can see from the elevation, showing the construction of a rear extension to an existing single-family home. They want to add a proposed rear extension from the mitoyen wall instead of the required minimum setbacks. So we're going to get some minor exemptions afterwards, but the basically the presentation, the elevation is hereby being proposed for adoption. Okay?
Thank you, Councillor Burke.
Thank you.
I had for 14.1, 5750 grand. Do I understand it's deferred until
September 4th, correct.
For the purpose of the minutes, we are authorized to put September 4th as the
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
Right, we hope we'll have the necessary information, and we'll have the time between now and September 4th to talk to those residents who sent us letters of objection. Okay, and I'm saying that for the record, I know it's being recorded, and so I'm counting on Councillors Kujaski and Torchman to talk to those residents once we have the conditions that we are recommending be put in place for that demolition reconstruction. Okay? Thank you. Thank you. So, approval, next item is, did we vote on 14.1A? B? Yes. Okay. So now we're in C.
Correct. 7909 West.
Thank you. So be it resolved that the site planning architectural integration programs received October 2nd, 2018. Oh, that's not possible, obviously. Must be a mistake in the date.
Let's look at the French version.
It's in French, it also says October. Okay, so clearly there's a, was it the June?
C'était au mois de juin, 2 juin.
Oui, c'était le
On
2,
parlerait ici du 12, ouais.
le 12
Ça
juin.
doit être le 2.
No,
le 2
the
juin.
no, it must have been received in May 2018. We don't know exactly the date. In any event, the site planning and architectural integration program received showing the construction of a new one-car garage to be built on the side of the existing single-family detached dwelling on lot 105, 3338 at 7909 Westbrook, and prepared by the owner for the Planning Advisory Committee meeting of June 12, 2018, be approved according to the provisions of Chapter 14, Bylaw 2217, City of Côte Saint-Luc.
Moved by Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor Torchman.
Okay, so now we're on Westbrook. Is this an elevation? You have to vote, Tita.
So moved and seconded, all in favor?
No, we should have discussion before we
That's what I'm
vote.
saying, so discuss. And then yeah, so I said moved and seconded, now discussion.
Oh, sorry, okay. So, this is an elevation showing the construction of a new one-car garage to be built on the side of the existing single-family detached dwelling. I hope you can see that, Mr. Schechter. Next slide, please. Yeah, there you go. So he's got a shelter because he doesn't have a garage, and now he wants to build a garage. So minor exemption request is in order to allow the construction of a one-car garage to be located within a minimum distance. That's going to be approved in a moment. But right now, we're just approving the look, and I think we have the elevation, the presentation of what it's going to look like. Next slide. You have a slide showing, yeah, well, it doesn't really show what it's going to look like, but you can see where it's going to be built, right next to the house, the extension of the driveway. Okay? So that's the presentation for this particular item.
Thank you, moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. Move on to item D.
Okay, and I want to mention that the neighbor was in favor as well.
Okay.
Okay? And that's important for the minor exemption, which is coming up. Next item is approval of addition of one-story side extension to an existing single-family semi-detached dwelling on, also on Westbrook.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, that the site planning and architectural integration programs received June 1st, 2018, showing the addition of a one-story side extension to an existing single-family semi-detached dwelling on lot 105, 3335 at 7920 Westbrook, and prepared by Mr. Macchio Godena for the Planning Advisory Committee of June 12th, be approved according to the provisions of Chapter 14 of Bylaw 2217. So similarly, it's this elevation showing the addition of a side extension to an existing single-family semi-detached dwelling, and it's to allow for the extension to the single-family dwelling, to allow for one interior parking space. No, this is just an extension of the house, there's no parking space, and we're gonna have to do minor exemption afterwards. So this is just an extension of the house, and you see the elevation, you see the proposal. So
Moved by Councillor Berger, seconded by Councillor Torchman. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And now minor exemptions.
Okay, so in order to facilitate these constructions, so RAND is again deferred to September 4th. That's 14.2A. 14.2B is now, so all three of these, Wayville, Westbrook, and Westbrook, these, now we're going to the minor exemptions, which will allow for the construction. So be it resolved on the case of Wayville, 7488, what we just saw. Hang on, I'm going to read the resolution. Here it is, okay. That in accordance with provisions of bylaw G-18-0005, the request for a minor exemption regarding the property located at 7488 Wayville, being is hereby approved, the whole is more amply delineated hereunder. The request is to allow the construction of a proposed rear extension to an existing single-family semi-detached dwelling to be located 1.8 feet from the common mitoyen property line instead of the minimum required distance of 6.5 feet, the whole notwithstanding the provisions of zoning bylaw 2217 Annex B. Okay, so this is the proposal that we saw just a few moments ago for an extension, for rear extension to be close to the mitoyen wall, to the neighbor's wall, and this was approved by the neighbor, so as recommended by PAC.
Moved by Councillor Berger, seconded by Councillor Torchman. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously.
Now, the two houses on Westbrook, one for a garage, 7909 Westbrook, that in accordance with provisions of bylaw G18-005, request for a minor exemption regarding property located at 7909 Westbrook, being is hereby approved. The request is to allow the construction of a one-car garage on the side of an existing single-family detached dwelling built without a garage to be located 33 inches from the northeast sideline, land line, instead of the minimum required setback of 6.5 feet. The whole notwithstanding the provisions of zoning bylaw 2217 Annex B. So clearly, instead of being 6 feet from the property line, this is going to be 33 inches from the property line. Clearly, we needed the neighbor's approval, and the neighbor did approve.
Moved by Councillor Berger, seconded by Councillor Torchman. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously.
And now, 7920 Westbrook. Request is to allow the construction of a one-story side extension to an existing single-family semi-detached dwelling built without a garage without having to provide a minimum of one interior parking space when having a total dwelling area of 1,800 square feet. The whole notwithstanding provisions of bylaw 2217, Article 7-2-1A, seconded by?
Seconded by Councillor Torchman.
Okay, so this is a house which is now going to have a total square foot area of over 1,800 square feet. Normally we ask for a garage, but given the context of this street where some have garages, some don't have garages, we're allowing them to build the extension on the side of the house without a interior parking garage. And then, of course, they're going to ask for a tempo.
Which they can get under the existing bylaw.
Which they could get under the existing bylaw and hopefully under the new bylaw.
Okay, so moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And that's it for urban planning.
Thank
Now we move on to item 15, Councillor Kovac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that Council takes the following stance in view of any agglomeration council meetings to be held in September 2018 as follows: to authorize the mayor or his duly authorized replacement to make any decisions he deems necessary and in the best interest of the City of Côte Saint-Luc and its residents regarding the items on the agenda of the agglomeration council meetings to be held September 2018 based on the information presented during those meetings.
Moved by Councillor Kovac, seconded by Councillor Ben-Isri.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously, and we move on to other business. Second question period. Dr. Township.
I would like to move a motion, if I may, because
Careful.
I'd like you to vote.
Hey, watch.
Just bring him a chair.
Okay. I would like you to move a motion on one topic that I forgot about today to mention. And that's, I like to have a vote on after September the 10th or after Yom Kippur Rosh Hashanah for the council to hold an open meeting for anybody who wants to come and be heard from the candidates in the elections of the province of Quebec. And I'd like you to vote on it tonight.
Okay, we'll take that under advisement. We'll discuss that in committee, but please be careful. Yeah, go ahead, Rhoda.
Joel Goldenberg wins the Samaritan of the Day. Well done, Joel.
I don't know, I don't think,
Use it.
It's better. It's recorded. Everybody else gets to
I
hear
don't
your
want it
question.
recorded.
Rhoda, you're adding color to our council.
What can I
have
tell
to
you?
say. You're really.
Rhoda has style.
Seeing we were talking about road work and Côte Saint-Luc Road and crossing the carry, my problem is getting out of my building. When I turn to the right, there's construction, and that street is completely, Marc Chagall, is completely blocked. You can't go in that direction. If I turn to the left and I go towards the synagogue, what's happening there? The whole road is dug up. You can never pass there because people are crossing the street.
It's the water.
All those cones and everything is dug
Well,
up.
the water's thing. We have a lot going on right now on Marc Chagall and on Kildare and that area around Bialik. We're trying to get as much done before school starts. So it's the water network, and once we're dealt with that, well, we'll have less things to deal with in that area.
However, whenever I drive by there, there's nobody working. Like, shouldn't they be working 24/7 to fix it?
It was a construction holiday.
What,
They're
you're
almost
talking
finished.
about, is there water?
The water
work?
pipes, the water pipes. Well, there was a construction holiday for 2 weeks. Now they should be working.
Well, today, yesterday, every time I drive by during the day, like in the morning,
You know,
there's nobody
I
there.
can
Make
only
room for
answer
Rhoda.
this. On Bailey, we have the same thing, and it seems like no one is working, but apparently, no, apparently, it takes time. Once they dig the holes, they go in and they pass the pipes, it takes time and they do it step by step. But we did get a report from our engineering department, and a lot of it is 65 to 80% completed. So we're making progress, and we'll just keep our fingers crossed that it'll all be done for the holidays.
I guess they're all like Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Yeah.
Continuation.
They're on schedule, and we just got the report, and it's actually quite promising. And I also feel like you, like,
Let's get this done. We want to get it done. We don't like all these pipes above ground. Get it done.
Okay, so let's continue.
But we saw
There's nobody
65 to
there,
80%
right?
completed.
So they're hiding underground, Dita?
I don't know if they're hiding.
They're coming, they
It
do a
just
certain
takes
areas, they
time.
come back,
I'm
whatever.
joking. Don't you?
Because the stuff on top is only diverting, eh? You have to realize the stuff on top is diverting the water
gonna tell-
while they're working
on the
with the stuff
roads.
underneath.
You watched her. I'll interrupt you. Why don't they clean up the street when they hide somewhere, when they're not working? It's full of rocks and pieces of metal right in the middle where you can't go anywhere. And to turn around and go the other way, so it's filthy, it's full of rocks and metal, and to go over it, I'm afraid I would break all my tires.
They're doing
All my
a good
tires
job.
are gonna get ruined.
Anyway, we are really on top of them. I know we have the city manager working with the director of urban planning on top of this issue.
Yeah.
So we're on top of them.
It's the same story with the painting of the yellow lines. Nobody's watching them paint the yellow
That's a
lines that
different,
disappear after a rainfall.
That's a bigger problem.
One more question. The snow dump, the garbage dump, what are they building there?
They're building a snow dump, what, where?
No, they're not staging
Full of
areas to be
construction
contracted.
material.
Yeah, it's the company that's doing the sleeving, that's using their equipment is being used and
The
prepped
same
there.
people that aren't working on the street are not working there either.
Marc Chagall's gonna look absolutely gorgeous one day.
When?
I don't know.
18 months.
It's like a
Because the pipes are the smallest part of our problem. We want to get those other buildings built. The pipes will be done by the fall, but then we got the other buildings to get built.
I can't even get to the carry. Anyway, thanks. Sorry, I just had to know.
No problem. Go ahead.
Thank you. So, we just completed some major work to the front of our house. We had a major deterioration of stairs and balcony. We applied for a permit, we did the work, we finished it, and then we wanted to do some exterior staining on our bricks. So we were supposed to go on vacation, and we were told by the planning committee if we get in the necessary documents by, I think it was a week and a half ago,
What's your address?
it would appear today on the
What is your address?
5625 Smart.
Okay.
Yeah, so when I came, I was surprised it wasn't on the list, and I
No.
spoke briefly to Jonathan, but Mr. Schechter, sorry. But it was, really
It was on the
difficult.
August 7th agenda.
Say that again?
August 7th.
No, for PAC.
PAC.
No, it was the one we looked at. And there
I
were
know, with the spray
concerns.
painting.
So it already went through one committee, which was the planning committee,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and now PAC is what? Is the,
That's PAC.
so it's
That
going,
was
Planning Advisory Committee, it's gone through there.
so it's gone through one committee already, and now it's going through another
There
committee?
has to
No.
go to council next, here.
And then,
So-
yeah, so we were told that it would be on tonight,
Right.
So what's the schedule?
and it was,
Well, normally the schedule would have been September 4th, but we have an issue which I would like to discuss with you.
okay.
So
We'll
that's-
stay
right
That's
after.
okay that you came, that
It's
we
good you
can
came,
talk
we'll
to
speak to
you.
you afterwards. But we just had a planning advisory committee meeting.
August 7th.
August 7th, no time for those items to be on this agenda, so we're gonna, because. there's an
Delayed our
issue.
holiday to get
There's an
it.
issue coming up, you'll discuss it,
I'll see you.
Mhm.
okay.
Mr. Mayor, a couple of fast things. The new stop signs that will be installed. I know on my corner, I have a stop sign, and we're required to cut our hedges to a certain height. I would ask that the bylaw be changed, that the people that have their homes on those corners, that the hedges, because I know right now, I have to go to the middle of an intersection before I can pass. So please, make sure that in the new, with the new stop signs, that these issues are provided for. Capiche? 13A, Kerwin Park, the money. I understand from the previous counselor, District 5, and he boasted about it in one of the publications, that $100 and some odd thousand was spent to upgrade the Alan J. Levine part. What is there now to upgrade there?
Now, these are professional services in order to determine the whole plan that we're doing for the complete renovation.
Can't hear.
These are professional services for the plans for the complete renovation of Kerwin Park, including anything else that we might do in Alan J. Levine Park. What was done back then were small details, maybe, or I don't remember.
Okay.
There was some park equipment and things.
Okay.
But now we're redoing the complete park. This is the professional services
Okay.
for that.
For the entire area, from Guelph to Mackel.
All the way, the whole thing, including whatever they do in Alan J. Kerwin Park.
Okay. 13C, the lights, not that it bothers me, but on the chat lines and everything, the lights under the underpass, Cavendish underpass, is it a timing procedure? Because sometimes they're on, sometimes they're off. Last night they were off. I mean, I don't
We're
understand.
told that the visibility is better if they're on. All of them are on during the day, and only some of them are on at night. That's what the experts
I
tell us
think
is
it's
the
the
best way to see.
They're blinding.
Yeah, if I may,
Councillor Italy?
it has to do with your eyes and the way they adapt.
My eyes.
So during the day, it's very bright. So if you can imagine you're driving outside, it's very bright. All the lights are on. And this is standard in most tunnels or underpasses, what you'll see in the province of Quebec and in Canada. So when you're driving outside, it's bright. Inside the underpass, all the lights are on, so it's bright, so your eyes adjust immediately. At night, if you think about it, it's relatively dark. Only some of the lights are on, so you're adjusting from an equal setting. If you notice on airplanes, they have procedures they do with the lights on.
Councillor
lights
Italy,
off.
I
I'm saying these are
understand,
standard
but I'd like you
practices.
to drive through. It's not a question
I
of
drive
bright or
through at
not.
least once or
They're
twice a day.
glaring, the level is glaring at the driver.
During the day. During the day.
Yeah, they're glaring. It's not the question that we need brightness. They're glaring at the driver. I passed by there a couple times. I don't.
I drive through there all the time.
drive
We all
through-
do, obviously.
I drive
The
through once a day.
experts tell us that that level of lighting, which you call glaring, is what's required when it's a sunny day.
So I should close my eyes and drive.
I don't
Not
know.
do that.
sometimes the sun hits your eyes, you need to close your eyes and you go, put on my sunglasses. I don't know what to tell you. This is what we're told.
All right. I want to thank everybody that redid the Yitzhak Rabin waterfall in the
There other
plaza.
day. Nice.
Very well done. But I'm waiting for a real rainfall to see if it was really fixed. Because for the last 7 years, I was told that the rain hits the circuit breaker. Now, was it fixed? Was it repositioned?
We had a storm last week.
We did?
Big
We had
thunderstorm.
We had a few over the last few.
I was hiding under the underpass. I don't,
It felt like a tornado. We were in the council meeting, was it last week? It was like a tornado outside. We thought the building was going to be blown away.
Okay.
After the Klezmer
Now-
concert.
Yeah, after the Klezmer
So
concert.
again, and there's some items I'd like to take up with Councillor Kujawski Wednesday night about something that I've always asked for, family-friendly furniture. But for coming up for Tashlith, that plaza is a beautiful plaza, really. Kol hakavod. Last thing, and I really like to know, because I have some ideas about the tempos, and I've spoken to a lot of people over a number of years. Why did Councillor Kovac?
I don't know if she doesn't have to answer, it's up to her, but honestly, you have to realize that there are going to be people that are going to be opposed to tempos because of the way they look. And Councillor Kovac represents a district where she feels some of those people may want her to vote in this way. But you can speak.
I didn't want to get into a debate tonight because we don't have the feedback yet. And I know that there is going to be a lot of, it's a divisive issue, so I'd rather wait for feedback. But for me personally, looking at the face of Côte Saint-Luc, I always thought tempos, which I'm not opposed to, should be the exception, not a blanket thing necessarily. I think it changes the face of Côte Saint-Luc substantially, so it's something I want to think about. I think that there's a tendency in the bylaw, the way it's written, will create disputes between neighbors where they share a common driveway. And we are not there to intervene, and the bylaw clearly says that, but it will create problems between neighbors, which is something I prefer to avoid looking forward to the future. I think that there are some duplexes on some of the streets that will be prejudiced because if they have side garages, not in the front, that they won't be able to have these tempos. So there's a segment of the population that's right away, it's not necessarily prejudice, but I don't think it's equal or fair. So I think it's premature to pronounce completely what I think and feel about it, but I don't mind sharing just a few of these things with you because I think that overall, the city of Côte Saint-Luc is a beautiful city. Tempos are not beautiful. I can see how practical they are, and I can see not only for handicap, for seniors, but even young families where it's difficult, to get up in the morning and shovel your driveway, and not everyone can afford a gardener. I can see all those arguments. But I need to be convinced by the public that this is the route most of Côte Saint-Luc wants to go, not just some of Côte Saint-Luc. And it's a big change for us, so I'm not ready to vote, to rah, rah, rah for it right now.
From my feelings and my conversations with a lot of people in several districts, we don't find it ugly. We find it necessary.
I'm not going to debate.
I think
That's why we're having this whole consultation process.
But it's not I think we need leadership. We don't need a registry. By putting a registry, we are dividing the community.
Registry, September 4th.
This is an issue really that I would feel totally uncomfortable with imposing on anyone. I would not feel comfortable.
It's not imposing.
Yes,
September
it's
4th.
imposing. I would not feel to impose on the entire community without consultation. Tempos is not the way to go.
Okay.
So we're going through a process where we're going to hear from the people.
All right, the last comment is, how many people are really outside during these winter months? And how many people are away in Florida that don't even see these things? So we have to weigh the
We'll have a
things.
consultation process. We'll listen to all the.
I think it's very important for the community.
Thank you. So once again,
Move to adjourn.
move to adjourn.
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Seconded by Councilor Burko. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.